Director of the Cyber Education and Research Center here at Murray State University. And welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. This week, I want to talk about something that's a little bit interesting. But before I do that, I want to go back something that we ended the show with last week, talking about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This month, October, every year, is a month that we want to talk about cybersecurity. Now, we talk about cybersecurity every week here on 10 at 10, but we want to take an extra moment to highlight some of the things that are going on across the country, and use October as a way to do some additional things to make sure that folks realize how important cybersecurity is and raise awareness of that. This year's theme, as I mentioned last week, is See Yourself in Cyber. See Yourself in Cyber. That is this month's theme. Cybersecurity Awareness Month is really a partnership between a lot of different organizations, but it's really head up by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, which is the federal agency that really organizes most of cybersecurity efforts for the government nowadays. Last week, we talked about the need for multi-factor authentication. This week, we're talking about using strong passwords, and we're going to talk about the need for this as we talk about our specific topic for this week. But passwords, strong passwords, password security is something that we have talked about on 10 at 10 dozens of times over the last couple of years. So it's not something that should be new to you, but it's certainly something that all of us need to hear time and time again. Creating strong passwords is probably the easiest way to improve your cybersecurity for your organization. Strong passwords includes an uppercase, a lowercase, a number, and it should be at least 11 characters or more. That guidance continues to change. If you ask somebody 4 or 5 years ago, they would say 8 characters is plenty for a password. That's not the case anymore. You should use unique passwords for every different account that you're using. How do you keep up with that? And how do you manage all these different and complex passwords? Well, you should use a password manager. Password managers are really a great tool to use to manage strong, complex, complicated passwords. So if you're not using one of those, definitely consider doing that. And putting in passwords is a great way to put cybersecurity first for the information that's stored on a device. You have so much of your own personal information and others' personal information stored on your computer, on your smartphone, on your tablet, and maybe even somebody else's systems. Using strong passwords is a good first step to help you keep that safe. All right, let me shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about home IoT. IoT stands for the Internet of Things. Home IoT devices, home IoT security. So many people nowadays have things at home that are connected to the internet. Most people have home broadband. If you can't, I'm sorry, I wish you could. And then beyond that, you have devices in your home that are connected to the internet. Yes, you have your computers and your phones and your tablets, but you also have a lot of other things that are probably connected to the internet, and perhaps you don't even know it. Maybe you have a keyless entry to your house that's connected to the internet. Maybe you have light bulbs that are Wi-Fi enabled so that you can turn them on and off remotely. A garage door detector to detect whether or not that the door's down. Glass breakage. May have surveillance cameras or motion detectors outside. Your thermostat. So actually, you might even have a refrigerator that's connected to the internet. You have game devices, your TV, your Blu-ray player. You may have a Apple TV or a Roku, or there's just so many different things that are connected to the internet now. You hear me talk about passwords and all these other factors that can help cybersecurity all the time. But if you're thinking about that, most people think about that in the context of their computers, of their servers, of websites. But the truth is, it also matters in all of these IoT devices as well. We can't just use it and think about it for our computers. We also have to think about it for our thermostat. If you have video cameras in your house, now a lot of people have them outside their house, but they also have them in their house. If you have a newborn and they're taking a nap, used to the video had the remote, you had the monitor and then the remote that could had to be within so many feet. Now, sometimes those monitors connect to the internet and you can watch, check in on your kids sleeping anywhere it's connected online. But if it's anywhere connected online, that also means a bad guy could get access to a camera watching your child anywhere online. Somebody could get in and at least cause harm to your home by changing your thermostat, or they could use your keyless entry to break into your house. Um, do you want all of that? Of course not. But are you securing that in the same way that you're securing all these other devices on your network? Now, that you may not be. So let me share today just a few things, and I don't want to run out of time, but we're going to, I'm sure. Things that you can do, basic steps to secure your home IoT network. The first one is to set up your router correctly. Um, Hopefully, you have an independent router that's different from the cable modem or the DSL modem or the fiber modem that your provider gave you. Hopefully, you have a separate wireless network, wireless router for your home network. If you do, assuming you do, you need to change the password, change the name of the router from the default. If you have a Linksys router, every Linksys router is set up with a default username and password. Now they're starting to get better about some of these things, but you know, there's a pretty good guess what what your router's default name is going to be, or what the password is going to be. You want to set it up to something unique. By default, these routers may have insecure encryption. So you want and authentication that's required to get onto those networks. You want to make sure that all of those things are set up correctly. Apart from the wireless security, you want to make sure that your devices have a strong password. So if you have a password that's required to log into those video cameras, then make sure those video cameras have a strong password. If you can enable multi-factor authentication for that device, then make sure you do that. That will add an additional layer. That way, what that means just to refresh your memory, that means if somebody steals your password, they still can't get into your system unless they also are able to somehow to steal that multi-factor that you're using to authenticate that second factor. Another one is to create a separate Wi-Fi network if you can for your IoT devices so that they're not on your main network altogether. Now, why that would matter is that, if somebody comes over to your house and you're doing something and they're, hey, can I get your Wi-Fi password so I can download something? You're probably going to say yes. Well, now that device of someone that's not in your family, that doesn't live at your house, has the password to the network where all of those IoT devices are. So using a separate network, something that you're not routinely going to give out, would help that. And the last thing I'll talk about is disabling rather features that you're not using. If you don't use a feature, then disable it. Why have it enabled if you're not going to use it? Normally, what that means is that there's some path open that you don't need. So, for example, if you're going to enable remote access, then there's got to be a port that they're using for that. Well, if there's remote access available that you don't need, then that means somebody else could use it. So you're providing an avenue in for a threat actor to use to break into your home network. You're using that for something that even if a bad guy stumbled upon um, that access, it gives them a way into your system. So if there's a feature that you don't want to use or you don't plan to use, then disable it. You can always go back in and enable that later. But the less that you have enabled, the more secure your system's going to be. Home IoT network, home IoT in general is something that is certainly growing and something that's going to continue to grow because we are a more connected society than we have ever been. And we're only going to increase how connected we truly are across the globe and across our country. So take those in mind, keep those in mind, and I hope that helps. Stay safe and join us next week here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.